By the time the dust settled on the S&P 500 this past week, the S&P was up 2.54% for the week. Bulls came in and they brought the S&P 500 right up to resistance, 2599.5. Last week we talked about a 2600 price range target. We're right there. We've had two legs up on the daily frame in the S&P 500. I'm going to show that to you here in a moment in a chart. But first, real quick, even though it was a good week for the S&P 500, longer term, the momentum is still negative. And so what this means is we want to be still in a conservative stance or in a risk-off stance when we're looking at U.S. equities. And so let's look at a chart of the S&P 500, and then we'll get into a couple of the things for this week's operating plan. And here's a look at the S&P 500. So each one of these vertical bars represents 1 day of price action, referred to as a candle. 1 day of the bulls and the bears duking it out to see who's going to win for the day and provide context for the future. And that's what we want to talk about here. And context and one important part, one important concept in technical analysis is that prior support becomes resistance. And so here we see where support was held a second time, and a third time represented by these three green circles here. Price broke, bears took over relentlessly, and now the bulls have taken charge for at least a little while here. And they've marched price right into resistance. This was our first price target, 2600 area, and we're right there. So the question has now become, will resistance hold? Support becomes resistance, and it works on the flip side too. Resistance becomes support on the other side. So we shall see if this price level does hold for the bears, and we see some price action coming into this week. Building the bears case for this week is that we've got two pushes up in the market, 1, 2, which could also be considered an ABC correction. A, B down here, and then C up here. So without getting too much into the minutia of it, if in fact the price does fall here and we see a test of these lows, or at least a test down a little bit further, then one would look back and say, oh, it makes sense that price failed there. We were right at resistance. So we'll see. We'll see if price does in fact fall at this resistance level, or if the bulls can continue charging forward and change this trend from longer term negative to positive. That's really the question. That's really the question coming into this week. Will resistance hold? Before I get into this week's operating plan or the theme for this week, I'd like to know what you're thinking. Which markets do you like, or which markets do you not like? Or which markets would you like comments on? It might be a market that I'm following already. So with that, I would love to hear from you. Put it in the comments section below. All right, the theme for this week. There could not be any more drama coming into this week. We talked about last week the S&P 500, the first price target of 2600, S&P 500 2599.5 for the week. I don't know how you can get any closer than that besides hitting 2600. We're a half tick or 2 ticks away. We're so close to that 2600, that range. We're right there. We're there, okay? So we're opening right at resistance. Will it hold? We shall see. Now, longer term, still negative. We still got negative momentum on it. What that means is that on the rallies, we want to sell the rallies. Last week, we were taking risk off the table. We were selling right at resistance. Now, this week, what we want to do, there's an asset class that has started to pique our interest, and that is emerging markets. Emerging markets have been beaten up. They were beaten up, and they've started to go sideways. They've gone sideways for long enough where the probability is start to come where it's either going to break to the upside or downside. It's getting pretty evenly split. And so we want to pay real close attention to emerging markets. If it breaks up to the upside, we get a good buy signal. We'll certainly take action on it. All right, that's it. So look, let's see if we get a Ronda reversal here, or if in fact the bulls keep charging forward. No matter what, going to be a great week. And so I hope you have a great week as well, and we'll talk to you next time.